Good morning. This is Angela with a Cuppa on Tuesday, October 4th, 2011. A little off schedule this week. Didn't get to do Monday. I was away on an extended weekend. So here I am. Great topic as usual. So I'm just going to delve right in. What is a really current and hot thing to be discussing as more and more people are awakening, because there's a lot of these questions that are coming up, and more and more I'm having these discussions with others on how things are, quote unquote, and the concept of the fact that we have complete control of our individual experience is actually really forgotten for us, and something that it's taken quite a nudge for us to remember that we can do this however we choose. And in this, I mean in our spiritual journey, in our individual spiritual journeys to enlightenment, and what we're trying to do at this point in our evolution so that we get to that Earth 2.0 that I love to talk about so affectionately. But what is the question or the discussion or the debate that happens more, time and time again is there a right way and is there a wrong way? The topic here today is talking about the tides of change. We have so much change going on, and I know I've talked about this over and over again on how we're throwing away the boxes. We are so just throwing them all away. Well, that also includes the boxes that say how you have to get to enlightenment. It's really interesting, because as we go down this path, I'm getting, strongly that change is constant. The only constant is change. And I have time and time again been reminded by my guides, been reminded by Creator to be the calm in the storm, to be the peace in the storm. And a lot of people say, well, the storm, that's such a negative connotation. And I said, no, it's really not. It's really more like the calm in the chaos, because there's so much going on and there's so many things twirling around us, and as we're going along, things are changing more and more. So what's happening is even the way we go about our spiritual journeys, even our choice for our spiritual enlightenment, that is still very individual. Gone are the days of the prophets on the mountain. Gone are the days that you have to get to spiritual enlightenment by doing this in this way. And I get the question, well, how come? Because, you have these yogis, you have these spiritual gurus who've been doing this for like 20, 30 years, and it took them 20 years to get to this point. It took them 30 years to get to this point, or 40 years to get to this point. How can it just happen within a couple of months, a couple of years, and for some, a couple of days? And I say, well, you know what? Because here's the thing. It's changing. Things are speeding up. There are many things that are being granted and being accessible now because of where we are, the tearing off of the Band-Aid kind of thing. And depending on where you are in terms of, whether you believe in past lives and other lives, it was funny. A friend of mine was talking the other day, like a week ago, about how she had gone to this Buddhist meditation retreat, and they were doing some really advanced stuff, and somebody asked the question, well, how come it took you how many years? It was a Buddhist monk that was running it. How come it took you this many years to get there, and now you're able to teach this in like a 3 or 4 day weekend, or maybe it was a 5-day thing, but anyway, it was less than a week. And the reply was, and she told me that the reply was this: because if you are here, then you have obviously done the work, whether it is now or in another life, or in other lives, all combined together. When you do the work, or when it happens, is outside of time. That's another concept in tides of change that we have to get used to, is that we created the concept of time. In terms of the entire universe, there is no time. And so we can step outside of time. As Creator, as spark of the divine, we can step outside of time and choose to do things a certain way because of our individual experience, or what we are on a quest for in our individual experience. So even those who are really stuck on, well, I've been following this guru for years, or these gurus for years, and this is how they say you need to do it. So this is how I believe you need to do it. My answer to that is always fine. That's great. If that's what you believe, then that is what is. However, that is not what I believe. So therefore, that is not what is my reality. Therefore, I can choose it. Choose to take the path the way I choose. The other thing that you hear often is things like having to suffer to progress spiritually. That's a belief. And that's something that was ingrained in many experiences over thousands and thousands of years. We're getting rid of that. Another is that we have to be serious and very stoic and ceremonial to accomplish anything spiritually. When humor and laughter and fun is actually a big part of it. I've talked about this in the past, that my understanding is the only absolute in this universe is love. Well, what comes from love but humor and fun and laughter? What makes your heart grow? But when you laugh with somebody, when you can share a joke, when you can relax into the fun and the humor, and what makes you want to do something more than when it's fun? So it's very funny how many times I've been approached and I have people speaking to me, and then they're surprised at what I do. They're surprised at the level at which I'm doing certain things, and because I'm so laid back and I laugh about things and I'm humorous and I love having fun with it. Well, I also find that teaching people comes very naturally with fun, and that people tend to remember things with fun a whole lot more. So I get messages, I get communications, I have communications with my guides and creator with humor and with fun. And there have been times where I literally get very pun-like messages because I enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, that's fine. But also remember, you don't have to suffer to take your spiritual path. If that's your choice, then that's fine. And, if you say, well, that's how it's always been done, well, we're not doing it the way it's always been done anymore. We're taking the box and we're throwing it away. We're taking all the boxes and we're throwing them away. And I can't say that enough. And I'm sure this topic is going to come up over and over again in many different ways. Have you ever heard the saying? There's a saying that I love. It's if you do something the same way it's always been done, you get the same results you have always gotten. Well, if you expect that you have to suffer to be on your spiritual path, then you will suffer. And if you expect to change things up, then guess what? You can change things up. I choose to do things differently. I choose to not take 30 years to become enlightened. I choose to do it with fun and humor and joy and adventure along the way, and not to take 40 years to get there. That's my choice. And yes, we do all have that choice, because again, if we come back to the only absolute in this universe is love, then we can and we can remember that, and we can truly embrace it and step outside of time, step outside of what we have believed for thousands and thousands of years, because we've disempowered ourselves. Again, we come back to, in a sense, we disempower ourselves to those prophets on the mountain. We disempower ourselves to those gurus who tell us we have to take a certain path by doing this, by suffering, by spending all this time doing this. And time again, even some people who've been on their spiritual path for many, many years, they talk about how, well, so-and-so says this, and so-and-so says this, and so-and-so says this. And then I wait until they're done, and then I look at them and say, well, what do you say? What comes from your heart? What comes from your soul? Because I don't care what all those other people say. I care what you believe, what hits your core, and what is right for you. That's what's right for you. Because I can listen to 500 gurus and they can all say different things, which they will in one respect or another, or they can say similar things. But if it doesn't resonate with me, it's not right for me. It's what I keep on saying to everyone about your path is so individual. That's the beauty of the symphony that we're part of now. And now it's this combination of the individual path getting rid of all these boxes of all these expectations that we've built up for ourselves by disempowering and letting other people tell us how everything is defined for us. Getting rid of all that and saying, okay, this is my being, this is me, this is my enlightenment, this is my path. So, till Thursday, I want you to think about that, because we have more to talk about in regards to that. But do you want to suffer? Do you want to take that long time for spiritual suffering, to get to that path? And if you feel like that, that's fine. But I want you to think about what your choices are. And if you choose not to do that, if you don't feel like that's right for you, if you would rather do it a different way, that's your choice. So do it a different way. And that's your first step, is to figure out how you want to proceed and in what way. Don't listen to what others say. That's your assignment. So I'll see you Thursday. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea.